Shabbat Shalom. This week's Torah portion is, because we are in the middle of Passover, it is the Torah portion that is special for the Shabbat that comes out in the middle of Passover. And the Torah portion that we read is from the book of Exodus. It starts chapter 33 and goes into chapter 34, and it tells us the story of the second giving of the commandments. If you will recall, first Moses went up to heaven. He came down with the first set of the Ten Commandments, the first set of the tablets. When he saw that the children of Israel were worshiping a golden calf, he threw those tablets on the ground. They shattered, and then after a period of prayer and atonement, Moses goes back up to receive a second set of tablets. Now, there's an interesting difference that I would like to point out between the first and second givings. We read in this week's portion in chapter 34, "And the Lord said to Moses, Hew for yourself 2 tablets of stone like the first, and I will write upon these tablets the words that were on the first tablet, which you did break." Here we have God commanding Moses that he is the one who should carve out these stone tablets, and then God will then write upon those tablets. This is in contrast to the original commandment in the first giving of the tablets. First of all, we have in Exodus chapter 24, verse 12, "And the Lord said to Moses, Come up to me to the mountain and be there, and I will give you the tablets of stone and the Torah and the commandments which I have written, that you may teach them." And then later on, we have, as Moses is about to come down with those tablets, in chapter 32, verse 18, chapter 31, verse 18, "And he gave to Moses when he had made an end of speaking to him upon Mount Sinai 2 tablets of the testimony, tablets of stone, written with the finger of God." The first tablets, therefore, have 2 very specific descriptions that indicate a much more direct relationship of God to the actual production of these tablets. First of all, God says Moses is supposed to come up empty-handed. God is going to give him the tablets that he has prepared and that he has written on them. And then afterwards, God adds the fact that on these tablets of stone were written with the finger of God. It's a very, very specific physical explanation of something that gives us the impression of a direct, very direct, intimate contact between God and these first tablets. The second tablets, however, there is a bit of a removal, because it is Moses who is going to, at God's command, of course, Moses is the one who is going to prepare the 2 tablets. He will then bring them up to God, and God will write upon those tablets. What we have absent here is this idea of the finger of God. Now, in between the 2, as part of the atonement process, we have this section in chapter 33, where Moses asks to see God's face, and God makes it very clear that he cannot see his face, he could only see his back. And this is, he makes this very clear statement in chapter 33, "You cannot see my face, for no man shall see me and live." I think that this is all part of a process that is happening between the first and the second tablets that perhaps explains to us at a much deeper level what was the problem with the first tablets. The first tablets represented a direct experience. First of all, coming on the heels of God speaking directly to the children of Israel. You can also ask, if God has just spoken directly to the children of Israel, how is it then that they are able to go and immediately worship a golden calf? You would think that after an experience as direct and as intimate with God as that they would, the furthest thing from their mind would be to go worship a golden calf. But the fact is, it failed. The first attempt failed. And maybe the issue here is, and what we see here in the comparison we have just made, that the first giving of the tablets was too direct a reconnection between God and the Jewish people. They were not ready for that kind of interaction. And we see that even at the beginning when God speaks and begins with the 10 Commandments, and the people retreat and they say, Moses, no, you speak on behalf. It's too hard for us to hear what God's saying. This is all part of the same picture. The first tablets was a complete and pure act of God. God produced the tablets. God wrote on them. God wrote with the finger of God. You can't get a more direct expression of that, of what these tablets are, a direct gift, a direct communication between God and the Jewish people. The second one, Moses is more involved. Moses goes up, and he's the one who brings the tablets. He brings the tablets from earth up to the heavens, and God then writes on those tablets. It is much more of an earth-God connection. In order for God to communicate directly with the Jewish people, he has to have Moses there as an intermediary. He has to have a contribution from mankind. Mankind must participate in the process, and then God comes and writes his words upon that. But with the participation of man in the process, and perhaps a bit of a distance. For then God says, no man can see my face and live. There has to be that kind of distance, but perhaps only when there is that kind of distance, but at the same time, greater distance, but at the same time, man taking part in the process. That is a process that perhaps at that point God realizes, or man realizes, that that's the kind of a process that humankind can sustain. And I think that's a very powerful lesson for us indeed. The divine is very hard to attain, very hard to reach, very hard to come close to. It is our constant desire to come as close to God as we possibly can. But at the same time, we have to recognize our limitations. And it's this recognition of our limitations. God gave us the chance. He gave us the chance to go all the way, and then recognize that we are not capable of doing that. We can come close. We can come very close. But we need to have assistance, and we need to be part of the process. There has to be something earthly and human that is part of the process for us to come close to God. Shabbat Shalom from Samaria.